All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 221 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host today, Julian Gill, admin on the KissFAQ message board, and I am joined by 69th Blizzard Ken.
Hello.
Marcus Almighty Mark.
Happy New Year.
And the Wheeze, Daniel. So, Happy New Year to everyone. This is the first show of 2019, which I'm sure is going to be a very exciting year with lots of things to discuss. As I had promised in one of the previous episodes, I have no recollection in which one specifically, the giveaway for the Gene Simmons Vault supplement with the signed 5x7 photograph of Gene with Eric Carr. I did the drawing this morning. Congratulations to Steve for winning that. It'll be going in the post today, so that'll be the last giveaway for a while. Only 15 people managed to be arsed to watch the show or to send in an answer, or maybe not interested. So we'll just give that one a rest for a little bit. New Year. So, for those who do the Festus, the Christmas, the Hanukkah, the whatever, just go around and see if anyone got any Kissmas presents. I didn't get any Kissmas presents, but when I got back from England, I did have my most recent Discogs purchase waiting on the doorstep, and no one stole it, oddly. So,
oh, nice.
I did go out and buy myself Nasty, because I really wanted to see the J Card credits that have the keyboard player for the song that was removed from the album. That is, of course, on Gene Simmons' Vault. So that is all. I also, blew some Amazon gift certificates and bought myself stuff while I was in England, and had, several copies of that Kiss World Best of delivered to myself. And the last hardcover of one of my books, so I could get that out of British merchandise channels, I bought for myself, which I will just relist, but at least it's gone now from Amazon officially, as I deleted all those titles. But I didn't get any Kiss items whatsoever. I took Kiss items out and gave away t-shirts, and my Kissmas present, if anything, I will say, was meeting up with David Donnelly in where the hell did we meet up? It was Whitney, Oxfordshire, and it's not too far from Banbury, where I have some family who I was visiting, so we got to spend several hours in the pub. Me getting poisoned by hobgoblin and line cleaner. If you work in the pub industry, you'll know that you're supposed to clean your pipes, but you're also supposed to flush out all the fucking cleaner and not leave it in the beer. And this place, well, I think that beer was bad because I've had hobgoblin before, and it's never made me as sick as I got very rapidly. So great chat with David. Really cool to meet up with him. I would love to spend more time talking music with someone like that, so I don't need anyone to give me a Kissmas present. Daniel, what about you? You had any recent Kiss purchases, or been given any Kiss stuff, or whatever?
I actually received one Kissmas present for Christmas, and my girlfriend decided it was time for a new Kiss t-shirt. I don't know. She didn't like my Animal Eyes, and what was the other one? Well, I had a few from the unmasked era, or no makeup era. So she gave me a really good looking t-shirt, but with Tommy and Eric, and that's not the t-shirt I want to wear. Nothing bad about Tommy and Eric, but I like my, Revenge era or originals or even Eric Carr era. But that's the first one I have with Tommy and Eric. So, well, at least it's something.
It was a gift. So,
yeah.
Ken, how about you?
Thought that counts.
How was your Kissmas? Did you receive any gifts that, any Kiss items?
I
recently?
got coal from Santa.
You got coal?
No. I did not get any Kiss-related gifts.
Because you have far too much taste.
Well, no, it's probably because I already bought all the Kiss stuff that I wanted on my own beforehand. Like the the Rock and Roll Over color vinyl and so on. So there was nothing really on my list that I was looking to get Kiss related. So I got some other music, vinyl and stuff like that, but that's about it.
Cool. All right, Mark, and we already talked about you briefly, so we'll let you go into your side show here.
Yeah, so I didn't get any Kiss stuff either, but I did end up getting two things that made me rather happy during the Christmas season. One that is a thing that, well, they're both albums, and they're both bands that most people might not know about worldwide, but are pretty popular in Canada and bring back fond memories for me in my teenage years. So the one record that I got that I was overjoyed to get, because this was such an impossible record for me to find on vinyl around here until they reissued it, is, and I'm curious to see if you guys know of this band or not, but that's Tea Party. These guys are absolutely incredible. And if you're into stuff that requires alternate tunings, the guitar player in here, Jeff Martin, he has a fantastic video on YouTube where it was just type in Jeff Martin and alternate tunings, and it's 4-part video of all the different kind of alternate tunings you can use on guitar, and it's incredible. He goes through all kinds of different variations of songs off of these records that he does with Tea Party, and he also whips into like Zeppelin and other bands or Crosby, Stills and Nash, and all kinds of different tunings, and it's just incredible. But this album was a big thing for me in high school. I really dug this stuff. It's kind of like Zeppelin with Jim Morrison singing, but he's a far better singer than Jim Morrison ever was, I can say that. And the other one,
whoa.
is
Jeff Martin, that name sounds familiar. Has he been in any other bands that were like more notorious or better known?
No.
It sounds like I should be, or I'm mixing him up with someone else. And
you're maybe thinking of a Jeff Martin that might have been in Badlands, but that's not the same guy. But this guy is incredible. Great guitar player, great singer, and I can say that he's probably one of my top 5 vocal influences, to be quite honest, even though I don't like the Doors, which that might make it sound a little odd. But anyways, the one thing...
You don't like the Doors? You don't like the Doors?
No.
Well, okay.
I mean, I don't. I have some of their singles and stuff, but I'm not like a fan. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't mind like Light My Fire and This Is the End and all that stuff, right? I don't mind that stuff, but I'm not a diehard fan by any stretch. But
do you like
the
the
other
Beatles?
band? I love the Beatles.
Okay, just making sure.
Absolutely,
just fucking
love it.
You're okay then.
I mean, I have so many like variations of Beatle records downstairs in my room down there. It's unbelievable. But it's a great segue there, Julian. You're thinking really smart here today, because my next record here is a band that in Canada I've rechristened Canada's Beatles. Okay, if the Beatles were formed in Canada, it would be this band. Okay.
Really?
This is a band called Sloan, okay? And they are absolutely awesome. And for somebody who knows my history of, the music that I like and talk about, you'll be absolutely in shock to hear that I love this band, because this is just power pop. That's pretty much all it is. It's just 3-4 minute songs, 4 chords, but harmonies that are incredible. I love the guitar tone on this record. And they remind me of a Canadian version of the Beatles. They really do. And since I bought this on vinyl, I got to show you this. It's great, nice orange vinyl that came with this, matching with the album cover. So that's what I got for. Go ahead.
So this band Sloan. I don't know where they got the name, but here we have some in the business offices that I work at. The wall urinals are made by a company called Sloan. Sloan's exactly the same name. So when I saw that out, the first thing I thought was, peeing in a urinal. So anyway, that was bad.
I was thinking about the girl from Ferris Bueller. Wasn't her name Sloan?
Yeah, Sloan.
Oh, there you go.
And of course, there's a British connection to the word as well, but whatever. All right. That's a really interesting sidebar. Thank you, Mark, for sharing your the music that you received. Let's talk about a few random things today. Just basically this and that of what's been going on. It's been quiet over the holidays, of course. A few little bits and pieces have cropped up news-wise, and the first one that I kind of have on my list here is, of course, Gene Simmons' Vault. Continuing in 2019, it's now been, publicly listed. He probably wishes it had been publicly listed on, his site, that you can buy it for a certain vault's opportunities during the tour on days off and whatnot. Who knows how that will work? You can get one by mail order for $1,500. But here's the one that really kind of generated quite a bit of conversation. That FYE, the music retailer, one of the very few who still remain, and FYE in our area is long gone. There was one down at I don't even remember, Tamferan, that I used to go to. That is now, I think it's closed, but I just wanted to get everyone's opinions. I know two of you haven't got the vault, and two of us do. So, do you think it's okay for everything that Gene promised with exclusivity, how special this was, now to have maybe put this vault into a store at the same price? And what do you think about what you know of what's going on with the vault in 2019? Mark, I'll just start with you and just randomly go around.
I'm going to quote something that I heard from Gene Simmons before on a documentary. He once mentioned something about when you have money, you want more money. When you have women, you want more women. Thinking that this is maybe just a situation where, he sees an opportunity to make more money. So I think maybe the exclusivity part might take a little bit of a backseat, and maybe he just wants to put it into situations where more eyes will get on it, and maybe more people will purchase it. Is it a bad thing? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, maybe that coming from me, who hasn't bought it, maybe I won't get so up in arms in it because of the whole exclusivity bit that was promised. But, it's still going to be exclusive. How many people are going to be able to walk into FYE and drop that much money for a box set? I mean, probably not a lot. But maybe he's thinking that, the odd millionaire guy who might walk by, or my man with a lot more money who walks by, might get it for their son or daughter or something. And I think it's just a situation where he's maybe hoping to get it in front of different set of people, I think.
Yeah, agreed. Daniel, any give a shit about the vault or where it's sold or whatever in any way?
Not really, but I think the fans who wanted the exclusive event with Gene and at times Paul and Dace as special guests, they got it. But I think all of us realized that Gene will do pretty much anything to make a buck, and this vault thing will not remain exclusive. It will come out in other variations, cheaper ones, I think, in the coming years. But you can always think back of your exclusive event, and I guess most fans paid for the event itself and not so much the records, even though that's part of it too. But I think it was a great thing he did, but of course he's going to try to reach other audiences and people who mainly are interested in the music and don't care about this meet and greet thing. And he'll certainly release this vault in other variations, so I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, I mean, I had said, and I don't remember if I said it on this show or elsewhere, but I certainly remember saying that I don't really care that, Rhino will need to find other markets that don't include Gene's availability or being tied to doing these events of trying to get 50 people in one market together at some venue and then putting all those bells and whistles together. So it's reasonable to me, especially considering the price is kept at the same point, and regardless of what they may be getting at wholesale, it's business. It's absolutely irrelevant to me as a Vault owner. I had my experience, and my experience is absolutely more about that day and that interaction with the fans and Gene and Ace and, you know, Bruce and Eric and Ken and the other Ken, you know. So from that point of view, I say go for it. I get it anywhere that they can to make it a success, so that maybe they look back at their bottom line and say, this was a success, let's do something else, maybe with Kiss or Ace, or let's say we broke even, thank God, and let's now renegotiate and do something different with them, because they've certainly done a good job from my perspective at delivering, even with some of the things that happen. So I don't get upset about it. I would be upset actually for the fan who goes into FYE and buys it, because they don't get the experience, and maybe they don't know about it, and that's probably better. But you know, whatever. It all is fair. Ken, what's your kind of take on that?
Yeah, well, the price. What was the pricing at FIE? Was it the full price, or was it $1,500 price?
Honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it was the 2000.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy, since on his site you can get it for $1,500 on the Gene Simmons Vault site. There's a $1,500 without the meet and greet
markup.
But I still think the price point is wrong. I think they had they did get rid of, or not get rid of, but sold about 1,000 of them. I'm assuming somewhere around 1,000. They probably have about another 1,000 to left over, maybe, because I think originally it was going to be 2,000 or something like that. So I think the price point, excuse me, is wrong, because the experience was the big price point for me to meet Gene Simmons at the Vault. So I always thought, it's probably like 1,000 to 1,500 to meet Gene, and then 500 say for the Vault. So if they really want to sell the Vault off, I think they could sell it from anywhere from pretty easily. I think it would sell very well if they went $500 to $750.
Don't forget the store though is going to want their markup on that.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about online, but FYE, I'll tell you something. I went on the FYE site, and it would allow only to order a maximum of 10. So which makes me think it might be just a trial thing, or they only limited them to 10. Or it's a trial, see how it's going to sell or not on FYE.
Yeah, and I'm on the site right now, Ken. Pardon me, and it's a pre-order right now. So with a release date of February the 1st, and the price is $19.99.99, and nothing about payment, payment plan. So if anybody's out on the fence about buying it, you can save $500 by just going to the Gene Simmons site. And get $1,500. Get it for $1,500, but still, that's in my opinion, that's too much for just the Vault. Again, $500 maybe to $750. I think it would sell, and they still making profit, I'm sure. Yeah, and one of the things I was kind of disappointed that they didn't leverage, or obviously with Gene's mother passing, it really put pay to maybe some of the things that could have been done, is I really thought they should have been pushing a version for Christmas, mail order only, just signed by Gene, here Gene, sign 10, and offer them up. But, it'll be interesting to see. I don't really care. I didn't get upset all of a sudden when I saw FYE exclusive Gene Simmons. Well, I don't care. Yeah. I am not bothered. I've had mine. I enjoy the music. And as a fan, ultimately, I would really like more people to hear it legally. So from that perspective, whatever Rhino wants to do, cool. I'm not going to get butthurt about it. Whatever Gene, I doubt Gene has much to do with it, to be honest. So it's business. So let's move on to one of our other little bits of a topic. And this is from the FAQ, and question is, what was the first Kiss album you bought on its release day? And I will just continue talking, since I've been talking, and I never shut up. And Crazy Nights, of course, because hopping on the bandwagon with Asylum, that was the first album that came out after Asylum, and I was really, really excited to be getting to experience buying a new Kiss album on the day that it was released, and I pestered and badgered Music City in Binghamton to find out when it was coming out, rode down to the store on my bicycle, or more than likely, and, bought it, and then stuck it in the Walkman. Had a little red shitty Walkman, and on go the ears, and holy fuck goes the response. So that was not a happy day to buy my first Kiss album. Daniel, what was the first Kiss album that you bought on its release day?
Well, I got Crazy Nights for my birthday, and that was maybe 2 months after it came out. So I didn't really buy that one, but I remember the disappointment when I got it. It didn't sound anything like Asylum or Animalize, I thought. But and then I don't remember buying Hot in the Shade when it came out, but I have a vivid memory of buying Revenge when waiting for it. I put in the mail order and waited for it. And actually, I was golfing with a friend of mine, and I knew it was going to arrive that day. So we were out golfing, and my friend, who later on became an Olympic champion in biathlon, actually, but at that time he had gotten tired of Kiss. We started out being fans, but at that point he wasn't as much of a fan, so he made me go and play golf. But halfway through the golf tournament, I just couldn't bear it anymore. So I said, I just gotta go home, because I know the mail has arrived now and my album is at home. I have to go, so you can finish the final 9 by yourself. Goodbye. And I went home and I listened to it. So that's a very vivid memory. Yeah.
And somewhere, someplace, Lonnie's fist bumping, talking about Revenge. Ken, what about you for your first Kiss album that you bought on release day?
Yeah, I think, I went to I don't think it was the first one, but I remember the solo albums. It was close. I can't remember if it was a release day, but I don't think so. I think it might have been right around the release date, but it might have been a little bit later. So the true one that I do remember is buying Dynasty on the release date in a town called, city, Walnut Creek. The store called Record Factory, and that's the one I've talked about before, I think, on here, where I went in, and the boxes, there's aisles of records, records left and right, and down that aisle where Kisses stacked up there was boxes on the floor that still had not been, opened for stocking into the shelf. So it wasn't in the Kiss section, looking like, where is it? And then look down, and the box is open, and looking, and I go, maybe it's down there, and sure enough, it was in the box. And so pulled it right out of the box at the store, and bought it. So that was the first one where it came out that day, and bought it. I know there's other ones that I did after that. There's certain ones, a number of them, that I truly remember buying them on the release date. But that one was the first one, Dynasty.
Cool. What a great one to have as well on release day. All right, Mark.
Well, back in the day, I remember I had a 45 of Lick It Up. I think I mentioned that once before on here, that I got a 45 Lick It Up. And by that point, I had already been a pretty big, fan of Kiss by then. My sisters had all those other albums and stuff, but the first record that I actually got myself was when I went to the mall with my sister, and we went the day that Animalize came out, which was the record right after Lick It Up. So I remember my sister mentioning that there was a new record coming out, and of course at that point I was only like 11 years old, so I had to go with her to the local mall to go and get it. So we went together, and that was the first album that I got that was actually my own, that wasn't like a hand-me-down or a given copy. So pretty excited about that. And I think I remember I mentioned once on a prior episode as well that we used to send these cassette tapes back to our relatives back in Europe when we were, us living here in Canada. My parents immigrated here from Czechoslovakia, and we used to send back tapes talking about what's happening here in Canada for family. And I had put Heavens on Fire off of that Animalize album onto cassette for them to hear what was the hip thing in Canada at the time then. So, that's one of my vivid memories of getting that record and it being one of my actual first Kiss record.
Very cool. Good stories from everyone. Next topic off, I don't know if this is even off the FAQ, but it was something that I was reading a debate about a Gene Simmons Pedula bass. Is that the right way to say it, Mark?
Yeah.
Or
Pedula. It's a Pedula.
Pedula? Oh, okay.
Oblongata?
Pedula.
Oh, no. That's the water boy. All right. So he's selling a recreation of this. It was a very visually appealing piece from, I think, Crazy Nights era, which basically had his make-up face with the twisty tongue on the bass. I think they sold the original at Butterfield's auction back in 2000 or whenever that was. But the debate on this was, and it's going to be more of interest to musical instrument collectors, is it doesn't match the original bass in pretty much any way other than slapping on the artwork and having it basically on a white background. Different number of knobs. Obviously it's a bass, so it still has 4 strings. They didn't expand it to a 5-string or 6-string bass, but does it matter? Or is it just completely losing its charm or its point if they make changes like that to these kind of highly visual things from the past and then just start selling them willy-nilly? Or does it simply not matter if the buyer's happy when Gene hands him or her the bass? Daniel, do you even care that, it's all messed around with?
I believe they could have done a much better job. If you're looking for instruments that are similar to the originals, you don't want kind of the artwork, you want exactly the artwork. And I don't know, this time around they made him look like some sort of vampire or something on the new bass, and I think it's just awful. I'd say, why not use the original artwork? It's like re-releasing Creatures of the Night in '85 and putting on a different cover. It just doesn't work. You want the original, and I don't know why they didn't use the original. Maybe they thought this one looked cooler, but to me it loses all its charm. Yeah, That's the original. Yes, yeah. Mark is showing the original, but the other one, it's pretty similar, but I don't know why they did it that way. I think it was a bad choice.
Yeah, I'm just on the eBay auction right now, and it's up to nearly $12,000. So I guess anything we do to say that it's pointless or it doesn't work, just slap. It's obviously working, and someone's going to be very happy with that purchase. Christ. Ken, what's your thought on it?
Well, to me, it's kind of, it passes off as kind of dishonest. Trying to make it look like it is a replica of the original when it really isn't. Someone not knowing is going to think, oh yeah, it's just like the original, but it's not. It's kind of a mixture of his. It looks almost like a mixture of one of his photos of Gene Simmons, and they painted stuff on it. Versus, yeah, and I agree with Daniel about the Dracula thing. It has the fangs there going. So I guess, if someone knows their guitarist and knows Kiss's history, they're going to know what he used in that video. But yeah, it's to each their own. How if they want. So that's another good one. Right there.
Yeah,
Mark.
So they're not masking that it's not the item, and they've got that picture up there on the website, which makes it very clear what the differences are between the classic '88 one and the one that people are actually bidding on. But I think there still could be some confusion. I am not a big fan of how that looks, especially kind of like the tongue going the wrong way. It's like a stroke victim's demon, half the face frozen.
Jeez. It's not one of the better ones. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, artist. That's just my opinion. Doesn't mean anything.
No.
The bass came with Bartolini active pickups. Gene only uses EMG because Gene wants the best. Yeah,
Okay.
I think ultimately the buyer, and it's become a big thing, and I saw it on the cruise, the number of basses that were being sold that have probably never been played live, that are just being designed and they're custom. Gene has said, I want a bass made this way, go and make it, and then sell it. And that's fine, that's business. But I prefer, if you're riffing on, say, a LeBou from the early 70s, or you're riffing off a design from the 80s, some of those are really cool looking instruments that the band played, keep it as real as a recreation, rather than just slapping the artwork on something and not really caring. Mark?
I totally hate when they do this kind of stuff, because frankly, if you want to have something like the original, obviously the smartest thing to do is to go get the original, but that's going to be next to impossible because they usually only make like one or two of them, and Gene would be the one who owns it, right? So unless you go to the auction and are lucky enough to get it, that's the only way to get the original one of it. But if you're going to make recreations of a guitar, you can do it. You can make it as close as possible to it without it being exactly the same. And this is nothing like it, though. The shape, yeah, it's similar to a real Pedula, but it doesn't have the same vibe to it. It doesn't have the same feeling to it. I mean, I have a Tony Iommi SG right here, which I used to play, right? And I mean, they even did the crosses on there and stuff. They even had the Gibson pickups in there for it. And I mean, sure, it's not the exact model that Tony Iommi uses, right? But I mean, all the aesthetics in there that make it like a Tony Iommi guitar are there. The crosses, the pickups, those are Tony Iommi signature Gibson pickups that are in that. The shape of it, is the same, the SG shape. I mean, it's not to say that the Pedula is completely different, it's unrecognizable, but again, the one thing that they could have did that would made it look like the original is to do the artwork properly, and they didn't even do that properly. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of thing that really ticks me off, because if you're trying to go for an original, that's the one thing you want to get correct, is the artwork, for Christ's sakes. What's wrong with these people? Why did they turn into some weird Dracula morph? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And that, again, why I held that up, that whole thing with the pickups, is that, okay, sure, that might be a nerd geek, like a geek thing for someone like me who loves guitars and stuff, but I want the Bartolini pickups because that's what was used in it. Gene only started using the EMG pickups later on. He all his Punisher basses that he has, they all use the EMG and stuff. Maybe he had an EMG in one of the Axes back in '82 or something. Maybe that was in there too. But if that pickup was in that bass when he had it for Crazy Nights, then give it to them, because that's the sound that they want to, collectors. They don't want some different sound. They want the sound that was in that pickup that they remember from that time. I know I'm getting a little, off the deep end with this, but it does really bother me, because as a guy who likes to get guitars like that too, I'm not a huge collector, but if I do get a guitar that's supposedly like a collector's type or a model of somebody popular, I'd want it to be as close to it as possible.
I like the court bass he did a few years back. At least it looked like the original. It was pretty cheap as well, so you can get one and hang on your wall. You don't have to play it even, because it just looks like his bass. So that's the way to do it.
Yeah, Mark was getting quite agitated there. It was very, very entertaining. and no one actually, in any of these arguments or discussions about this bass or some of the instruments, has mentioned the analog of slapping makeup on a certain guitarist and it not being like the original either. So there you go. There's hope for the Kiss Army. All right, let's move on to the next one. Actually, that's also why I liked Paul Stanley's guitars on the cruise, because they weren't copying anything from the past. They were just fresh artwork created, made them more interesting to me. That's why I ended up with one. All right, so Similar to that first question I asked each of you about your Kiss buying habits, which Kiss album took you the longest to buy after its release? So you have to be a Kiss fan, and you know, for Daniel and me and the 84, 85 people, you don't get to say, well, the first Kiss album, because it had been out for 10 years. No, that doesn't count. You have to be an active Kiss fan. Which one took you the longest to purchase after it was released, and why? What's your excuse for being a slacker and not immediately getting it? Mark?
Well, that's kind of a easy question to answer. I think the record that took me the longest after I became a fan was Hot in the Shade. The reason why it took me so long to get it was because one of my friends in a band that I played with, he had it on CD. And whenever we go to practice, he would, play random Kiss albums on the way to practice. And he had put it on when he had gotten it. And he was complaining about, oh, it's too long. There's so much filler in this. What the hell's going on? This stuff is, what's with this Cadillac Dreams? And so he didn't like it, right? And so he was talking about it. And, when you're younger and more impressionable, when somebody in your friend circle there was kind of like bad mouthing it, that kind of registers in here. And while I still don't like it, it's not my favorite record by any stretch of the imagination. I think that had a little bit to do with it as well, because when I did hear it a few times in the car with him, there wasn't really too much that stuck out to me that made me want to go rush out and buy it. I mean, I was a big fan of Asylum, and stuff like that. So it just didn't have the same connection to me at that point. So Hot in the Shade was definitely the one that took a long time for me to get.
Cool. Ken, how about you?
That's kind of a hard one. I mean, when I became a fan in '77, so I bought Live 2. Then I started, buying the back catalog. At that time, when I was buying them, I remember getting double platinum pretty early. I remember then also getting Just to Kill, when it was one of the first ones I got to. I want to say it could have been. Well, it's kind of a tough one. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I'm pretty sure it's probably Hotter Than Hell or.
See, those don't count because you weren't a fan when Hotter Than Hell came out. So it's got to be an album that was released after you became a fan. So everything.
Released?
Yeah. After Alive 2 for you.
Okay. Before.
Which album?
See, I got it mixed up.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. No, it's all right. All right. So after the longest, I took to where I bought most of them on the day they came out. So I'm trying to think which one that I just held off on the longest.
If you want to keep thinking about that for a moment, we go to Daniel and we'll loop back around here.
Well, the only thing I can think of is the longest I waited to get a Kiss album would be the Ace Frehley and Peter Criss solo albums, because I got the first trip that I made. I bought the Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley the first go round, and I probably waited at least a few weeks or. So I didn't go long before before buying the Kiss album. I mean, most of them was the first day it was available. I got it.
What's interesting about that is that how you consider that long, like a long gap between getting something.
That is the longest.
And for me, getting Hotter Than Hell, I didn't get it on vinyl until the 2014 reissues, and I didn't even get a CD of it until after that. So that's how long I waited, like over 10 years plus.
I'm just talking about new studio releases, kind of that stuff. I'm not counting maybe compilations later on. Like, for instance, I have yet to get Kiss World. That came out in it came out in Europe, right? It was an import, but technically I'm getting it in the U.S. on vinyl. So coming up, there's stuff like that I don't have. The Kiss, it's called Greatest Hits. It was a European, I think it's Greatest Hits or whatever. It was the white cover around the reunion era. Yeah, that one. I don't have that CD. I never bought it. That's one of the ones I never bought.
Yeah, I probably should have just said studio album or album with new tracks rather than worrying about those, because there'll be a lot of those that people never bought because they're just like, I'm not doing it again. I'm not playing that game with Kiss and keeping current on every single compilation.
Yeah,
that Greatest Hits came out in conjunction with the Finsbury Park gig, the final one of the Alive Worldwide tour, and we'd had Greatest Kiss released in Britain anyway at that time, so it was just kind of a novelty, and it's still available, which just shocks me that it stayed in print all these years, and it's obviously sold enough to stay in print. So let's move on to Daniel. After you became a fan, which album took you the longest to purchase?
Studio albums. Well, I guess I know it's the one that was like a symbol for the demise of the band I loved. Kiss was firing on all cylinders, and they were kicking ass on Alive 3, and it felt like a real band. And then the reunion happened. It had to happen. And then they released an album. I remember enjoying the first single, but then hearing a few of the other songs, I just didn't feel it was the same band anymore. And they didn't sound like 70s Kiss, and they didn't sound like the 90s Kiss. It was sort of a mishmash. And it's Psycho Circus. I don't even know if I ever bought the real album, actually, because I guess this was released in 98 maybe, and by then you could get the music from other sources. You didn't need to get the actual album as you well, back in the day you could get a cassette, but it wasn't the same. But 98 you could actually get a pretty good version of the album, a good sounding version. So I don't know if I think I bought it for a friend, or maybe I bought it and I gave it away because I just like to show my I wasn't satisfied with what happened to the band. So to me it's Psycho Circus, and I really don't like some of the songs on that album. Oof, some of the Gene stuff is awful. I never listened to it.
We are one.
I thought you were going to say Carnival of Souls when you were talking after the Revenge of Live 3, or I thought you were going to say Carnival of Souls.
Well, I think it was sort of a last hurrah for the band. It could have been a good album, but there were too much into grunge. But you can hear it here and there on the album that the drumming is good, even though it's kind of strange at times, and I like the vocals, and some of the songs could have been really good if they would have stayed away somewhat from the Seattle sound. So I like parts of it, but it's also an example of Kiss not sounding like Kiss.
Those two albums, Carnival of Souls and Psycho Circus, I bought on the day they came out.
You crazy.
Yeah, Carnival of Souls, I remember going into a store called the Warehouse Records. It was called, and of all things, it was after work, and I went in there. To get the album, and I was listening on the, they're always playing music, and they're actually playing it in store, which was surprising to me. It's like I never hear any record store playing Kiss music, and they were playing the new album. It was like, oh.
But I guess all of us have the bootleg version before the album was released.
Yeah.
so you had already heard it, and it was, and the bootleg version carried that tune that Bruce did as well, the Outromental or whatever it was called.
No, the bootleg didn't have Outromental on it.
Yes.
It didn't have I Walk Alone on it. It depended which one you ended up with, because there were so many different versions. I mean, I remember getting that on. I traded like a 1988 orange vinyl interview, with someone in New York to get a copy of that. But I mean, I had that before it came out, because by that time I was doing a little bit of PR for a phonogram, which is basically, can I have free shit, please? And I'll give it away on my website. Yeah, that's the PR I did for them, which, so they sent me a bunch of those. I don't even remember the timeline. The one that took me the longest to get after it was released, I think, was probably Smashes. And I include that because it's got the new tracks on it. And that was strictly because I was in Singapore at the time. I know I eventually got the record, but I had to wait until I was in England for that Christmas that year until I can go and find it. And I ended up finding a cassette, which was always my go-to kind of listening. And then when I saw it in the stores in Singapore, when I got back in January '89, then I got it. By the time Hot in the Shade came out, that may well have been a while as well, because that was what, '89. So I'm still in Asia at that time, and it's really tough with the two. Smashes comes out in November, and then I'm in England that December, and Hot in the Shade comes out in October, and then I'm in England. So it could have been that, but I seem to remember getting that on CD in Singapore very quickly after it came out. So Smashes, I'll go with that as mine. I mean, it was always fun, to be there on the day of release. Psycho Circus, I remember listening to that. It was the first one to leak online, album-wise. So I listened to that, and then I walked down day of release to get that HMV on Market Street, which is long gone. I mean, I didn't even bother with Amoeba at that point. So it was never fun waiting for an album. But there's been a few in the years since that I've not been able to get on release day, or I've ordered on Amazon and they don't arrive on release day, and that always bothers me even to this day, even though we'll spend hours arguing online about the actual release date of Kiss albums, and someone's got some data that it was released on this day, and others say, well, in my town in the 1980s, if they were released on Fridays, they didn't put them in the bins until, all that sort of shit. So release dates are fun. And when you actually get the albums, it doesn't ultimately matter. As long as you got the album eventually, then it was good. All right. Another kind of similar question to the other two. Which two Kiss albums, and as long as they fall into the catalog and aren't stupid compilations, have you listened to the least during your time as a Kiss fan? Which are the two, not necessarily going to be the ones that you are your least favorite, just the ones that you don't go to as much when you're in a mood to listen to a Kiss album? That's easy. Psycho Circus. Carnival of Souls and Psycho Circus are the two albums I listen to the least frequent. If I'm going to be in the mood to listen to a Kiss album, 90% of the time it's going to be Lick It Up, Rock and Roll Over, even Peter Criss's 1978 solo album. Carnival of Souls, I just don't go back and revisit that album. I don't like the sound of it. Last time I listened to it was simply to compare the sound of it to the demos that were on Gene's Vault and kind of revisit it from that perspective. Psycho Circus, I don't listen to a lot. It's not that I don't like it, because it does have some good songs on it. It's just that it still has that bitter taste, that it doesn't represent what it was. So those are the ones I listen to the least. Mark, let's go to you for a couple of picks and surprises.
I'm waiting for it.
We're just trying to set him up here, it feels like.
One will be a surprise, one will not be a surprise. The one that will probably, I don't know if it'll be a surprise, but the one I don't listen to a lot, ironically enough, is the one that you just mentioned, Julian. I don't listen to Psycho Circus probably at all. Since I've bought it, I think I've listened to it twice. And again, it's not a bad record. In fact, it's probably one of the more better produced and sounding records they've done in a long time. I think Bruce Fairbairn did a fantastic job on that, but just none of the songs really connect with me on that. I mean, they just, I don't know, there's just something about them that lacks soul to me. I mean, the song Psycho Circus, I think, is good. Probably one of the only songs that are probably worth hearing nowadays. I mean, but the rest of it is just, I don't know. I mean, the fact that Bruce Fairbairn thought that, Gene came in with so many great songs and he loved sitting down and working with it, I was like, oh no. Because I thought a lot of Gene's stuff was always the weak stuff. I thought Paul's stuff was always the strong stuff. Even Paul had issue with that. But, that's the one record I don't listen to very much. And surprise, surprise, the second record I don't listen to very much at all is Destroyer. That hideous contraption of songs done by Bob Ezrin, a good producer. Let me just stress that he does make great Alice Cooper records and he makes great Pink Floyd records, but he makes atrocious Kiss albums, especially that one. That one is just give me a barf bag when that one comes around.
Okay, Keith, and guys at Kiss, would you hurry up and get the reproduction Destroyer Platinum Awards done so that I can get one for Mark and make sure it's hanging behind it.
Issue the Mark.
I'm so getting you one. You know they're going to do it. I'm buying you one. You're going to have one, and I'm just going to try and figure out how to dedicate it to you and have it personalized to Mark. Because it's just got to be done. And I'm not even going to crowdfund it. So, all right, Daniel, which two Kiss albums are your least played?
Well, in my mind, I listen a lot to Kiss, but I actually looked at my, at the end of the year, you get a list from Spotify, your top 10 songs that you listen to. And I was thinking, well, it has to be at least 3 or 4 Kiss songs on there, but there was none. I was kind of bummed out. I didn't have one in the top 10, so that was kind of sad. And that made me think.
No, you can't stop there. You have to tell us what some of these top songs were from your Spotify list. I want to know now.
It's too embarrassing. I can't say it.
No.
Kanye West.
No, nothing like none.
Elvis.
Yeah, actually one Elvis song. Yeah,
that's not embarrassing.
Okay,
nothing wrong.
That's not embarrassing at all.
But also Swedish bands that you've never heard of, like Clawfinger. They were kind of popular back in '93. I like one of those songs. One of the songs
Opeth.
that. What?
Opeth. And the Opeth?
ABBA.
No,
ABBA.
Opeth. No ABBA. Well, actually, some stuff from the 80s, some pop songs from the 80s. I like to listen to them when I want to feel good. Some keyboards and stuff like that. Aha from Norway. Maybe you've heard of them.
Yeah, I've listened to them a lot, and I'm not embarrassed to admit it. I don't give a shit. I listen to everything. Pet Shop Boys show up a lot on my playlist. So.
Yeah, so that was kind of a surprise. You should have a look at your own Spotify list and see what you've got in your top 10. But when it comes to the 2 albums I've listened to the least, I'd say one is definitely Unmasked. Mainly because I don't like the sound of the album. There are a few songs I enjoy, but it's too poppy for me. Too much pop. I don't like the sound of that record. So I haven't listened to it a lot. I like quite a few of the Ace Frehley songs on that one, but I'd rather hear them live than.
It needs a remix desperately.
Oh yeah. So that's one, and the other one is, of course, Psycho Circus. Actually, Carnival of Souls. I go to that album once in a while, and I want to like it, but I never succeed in liking it. So. I'm thinking, well, it's almost like Revenge. Maybe I can, but it doesn't work for me. But yeah, so Unmasked and Psycho Circus. Yeah.
All right. So, Ken, I haven't asked you yours yet, have I?
No.
Okay. So while I ask Ken and he answers his, I've got one more question I'm just going to throw in there right now for you guys to think about. What was your Kiss album of 2018? What was your go-to Kiss album that you found yourself gravitating to or listening to a lot during the year? Because obviously it changes on a regular basis. Ken, what are your 2 least listened to albums in the catalog?
Yeah. Do we count the live albums at all?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, I think my two least listened to albums I go to are Kiss Symphony Alive 4 and Alive 3. I just don't. Alive 3 is from a music perspective, it's very well played, and good music, and top notch. The thing that kills me is the sound. I just don't like the way it was recorded sound wise. That's what really turns me off to that. That's why I don't listen to it. That's why I'll go back to the early Alive 1, Alive and Alive 2 albums. So those are the two I would say I least pull out and go to. I go to Carnival Souls and Psycho Circus more than those albums for sure. Hot in the Shade. Hot in the Shade I was thinking too, and I don't normally listen to that whole thing, but I know I listen to it more than those Alive albums, or those live albums, those two I mentioned. So those are the ones I just don't really want to listen to.
All right, very cool. And just before we get into that very last question of your album, your Kiss album pick for 2018, that was your go-to. I should mention that the Greatest Show on Earth video is back. You're just talking about Alives. And this, of course, marries up Alive 2, the studio version, with previously released Kiss video interspersed with documentary. It is obviously really good. So there's a version up on YouTube again now with the director commentary, and you can go to Vimeo and find the original just a theatrical release, for want of a better term. And no, that's Andrew's ego. I called it theatrical. Yeah. But check it out. It was getting a lot of buzz by fans who were talking about it, particularly before they found out who had done it. But he did a fantastic job. So if you did miss the opportunity, go to Vimeo, go to YouTube, and it is back there. All right. So, Mark, what was the Kiss album of 2018 that you went to the most?
This is going to be surprising because it was surprising to me when I realized what it was. And it has a perfectly logical reason. Being that downstairs in my man cave there is where I do most of my business stuff for my records. Like whenever people order stuff, CDs or vinyl or whatever, or posters. Downstairs I have my little office where I do my stuff, and I have my record player there, and I listen to all my albums down there. The record that I listened to the most from Kiss in 2018, because it all revolved around the time I was doing this work, was the 78 Peter Criss record. Because during that time, I found that it was the one record that I could do my work and focus on the work and not get distracted. Because what I found was, if I put Rock and Roll Over on, I would start writing something or typing, and I found myself going like, and being distracted. I'd stop working, and I'd start doing stuff, and then realize that, 20 minutes has passed. Shit, I got to get back to doing this, right? But with the Peter Criss record, I could still, have it on, listen to it in the background, and go through it. And I found I got a lot of work done. So hooray for 78 Peter Criss for helping me get my work done in 2018.
Nice. Some respect for the Catman as well. It always goes well. Daniel, what was the Kiss album that you think got you through 2018 more than any other?
Oh, I think he's frozen.
Daniel?
Yeah, you're frozen.
He's
right
like
now, Daniel.
moving very slow.
It's like, I'm not answering this. All right. Daniel, I'm going to come back to you if you can even hear me. Ken, how about you?
Okay. It's kind of hard, but it's going to be similar, I think, to Mark's. I think I listened to probably the Gene Simmons solo album more than any of the other ones. I want to say maybe a close second could be the Kiss's first album. But I think the Gene Simmons solo album, I know I pulled out a few times and listened to it. At least I put it on my I put the vinyl on and listened to it. So I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed that since it came out. So now we hear Daniel bits and pieces of it. I think there's a delay there. He probably was talking about a minute ago, and it's now piping through.
Yeah, hopefully it picks up before we finish up here. Which album did I listen to the most in 2018? Crazy Nights. I really tried to get back into that album, or tried to get into it, period. Particularly after all the demos surfaced, both the ones on Gene's Vault and Paul's are now out there as well. I gave it so much of an effort just to get back into there and see if I could just enjoy the songs. I was listening to it a lot while finishing up the Danger Zone book and trying to, so it kind of goes hand in hand with
Can you hear me?
No, we can't hear you. You completely went scattered there, unfortunately. So we'll see how the signal does in a minute. But you're like a very bad Arctic radio.
Try turning off your camera.
Okay, I'll continue talking about Crazy Nights.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. I kept going back in and back in and back in. You know, it was probably my album of 2017 as well when I started doing all those interviews for it. It gave me more of an appreciation of the song. So that one I've spent a lot of time with. But for what Mark said as well, when I want to listen to Kiss music and actually get work done, I do throw on Peter's album quite a fair bit. So you are not alone.
Yes.
I often have that one. I actually play that quite a bit, which is, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I do enjoy it. Hey, you're back.
Oh.
No, he moved. All right. I don't think there's much hope for that signal returning, so let's just leave that now. For all of those questions that we've kind of asked, if you haven't participated on the board yet, what are some of the albums that you listen to the least in the Kiss catalog? Daniel is
Oh,
I hear you now. All right,
Daniel, do you read?
Yeah, Daniel, do you read? Turn your video back on because I can still kind of see you. Nope. All right, let's wrap it up. So, whatever we answered our questions to those questions that we answered.
Can you hear me now? No.
This is a professional podcast.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can't see you. No, we can't hear you. All right. So, for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.